Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we begin, I want to say this clearly and sincerely. Our hearts are with Iranian people, with those inside Iran living through uncertainty and pressure, and with those in the diaspora carrying worry, fear, and hope for the people they love. This conversation comes from a place of solidarity and care, and we wanted to create this space because there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of opinions, a lot of headlines, and oversimplified takes. And what's often missing is the chance to slow down and actually listen to people who lived in this reality. And I'm grateful to be joined today by our guest from Iran, Sepehr. He is here to share perspective and his experience and help us understand what's happening in reality in Iran and what he thinks is important for the world to hear right now. We will start with a short conversation. I'm gonna ask several questions, and if we will have time, then the audience can also ask me questions too. Uh, I think it's important, first of all, to clarify the context behind the current Iranian regime. So the first question will be about this topic. So, Sefer, why is Iran's current regime considered illegitimate? And does it have a historical rationale behind it, or did the regime lose legitimacy over the years because of its actions?
Sorry, I didn't catch the end part of your question before the legitimate. Can you
So
repeat the
I
last
asked,
part?
uh, does like Iranian regime lost its legitimacy because of historical perspective, or because of the actions that they did throughout the years?
Okay, I understand. Well, I would like to say hi to everyone. Thanks for being here and thanks for inviting me. And this is absolutely very great. I would like to again thank the SFO Georgia team and also the SFO, you, Georgi, Mariam, and also Lizzie. This is very meaningful, and I'm very grateful for what you are doing for us. And I hope eventually in this battle that we have, the freedom, the will for freedom wins. Well, you asked me about the current regime in Iran and how did we end up like this? What is happening exactly in Iran? What happened that they suddenly lost their legitimacy? This is something that actually very unclear also for many people that are looking from outside to Iran. The thing is that it is both the historic context and actually like the actions. The thing about the Islamic regime is that since the 1979 revolution, it started by showing hatred toward Western values, West, specifically, particularly Israel, and imposing religious ideas and religious laws within the society. And what happened throughout these years is that people tried many different ways to reform this regime, to change this regime, to show solutions and alternatives to this regime and different paths. And like if you like looking through the history of Iran and all the protests that are happening throughout this year, I mean the first protest against the regime started exactly 1 month after they basically established and they took power in Iran against the hijab law, the forceful like hijab law. And since then, people were protesting every year for different reasons, for different and bringing up different solutions for the government. And the thing about this regime is that they are very stubborn about this their structure, and they do not show any uh, we do not see this like sort of like following the people's lead or showing any respect to people's will. So eventually, throughout these years, we see that eventually people are now in a position that they see this government illegitimate after, especially after the 2 weeks ago incident that they killed more than 30,000 people on the streets. So if I want to like give a very short answer to this is what actually happened throughout these years.
Okay, so we can move on, as you already mentioned, to the events of the past 2 weeks. We have kind of context of why is regime considered illegitimate, and now to clarify more details about the protests that were going on Iran. There was a lot of talks about what motivated this protest. Some people said that it was the reasons behind this protest was socioeconomic. Others said that people were just fed up with current regime's harassment and harsh laws that they impose. So, what were the key events that led to the protests in Iran?
Currently, I mean, the start of this movement was started by the collapse of Rial, and we see the Bazari side of the economy, basically the shopkeepers, the traders started this movement. And since the start of this movement, we don't see people like chanting about like economy. We don't hear slogans about the economy. At the few start of like at very start of this movement, we hear people chanting Javid Shah, or we hear people like having like basically chanting very anti-regime slogans and in rejection of the regime. And actually, what makes this movement different that other uprising that we had in 2019, in 2022, and 2023 is that in those protests we hear chants that are in rejection of the current government. Like, for example, down with the dictator, no to Gaza, no to Lebanon, we want to give our life for Iran. And these things, basically rejection of this policy that we have to fund the terrorist groups in Lebanon, in Palestine, funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah. But right now, what makes this movement different is that for the first time throughout these years, people are chanting what they actually want. They are chanting for some pro-monarchy chants. They are chanting for Reza Pahlavi, who's like a very like the crown prince of the previous monarchy system of Iran. So this is the first time that we are seeing people actually chanting what they want. So this movement is not about like, yes, the economy collapse. Yes, there were initial reasons for the collapse of Rial that motivated people to come to the streets. But we don't hear people to only ask for like change in hijab laws. We don't see people to ask for change in laws or just correcting the economy or making a difference into laws and the system. We are clearly hearing people to reject the system and actually chanting what is their alternative. They are talking about alternative for this system.
You mentioned Reza Pahlavi, and that moves us to very controversial history of Iranian monarchy, because skeptics around the world, which I can say broadly that oppose current ongoing processes in Iran, are mentioning that if Iran's current regime changes, a new government would come under the already mentioned Reza Pahlavi as Shah, who will bring back monarchy restrictions and he will sell country to foreign powers, as they claim that happened before the Islamic Revolution. So, what is the reality, and how was the Shah's regime in Iran in practice? And do we have to fear that Reza's coming back in Iran will cause all the instability in the region and in the country too?
Well, your question has two sides. What was happened in the past and what is going to happen in the future under Reza Pahlavi. The thing about Reza Pahlavi is that if we listen to all of his speech, and they also like release some documents about how they are going to manage the transitional government if this movement like wins. And if we are looking through those documents and if we listen to his speech, he never mentioned or titled himself as king or crown prince. The title that is given to him is all from the protesters. Protesters in the street are chanting King Reza Pahlavi or like Javid Shah. This is coming from people. So he's not titled himself as king or crown prince. What he actually multiple times mentioned that I want to play as a transitional leader role, and I want to help Iranians to have a democratic transition towards a new government. So his goal and his documents and his policies, I mean, we never see him in action because he never had the power. So we can only judge him based on what he says. And based on what he says and all documents that he released, he introduced himself as a transitional power. But multiple times he also mentioned that in a democratic election, if people decide between a republic or a constitutional monarchy, if they decide the constitutional monarchy, it is people's choice. So, and whether he want to bring the monarchy back in Iran, well, he never stated that. But if people vote for the retention of monarchy to the system, like this is a complete democratic resolution. But what was happening during the Shah regime, during the late Shah regime? There is this misconception that the Shah regime was heavily influenced by the West, which is incorrect if you're looking at the oil policies of the Shah. Multiple times, like the Western countries, they were like saying, why you are not cooperating with us for controlling the oil prices? And he was like, well, the oil resources are like people's. It belongs to us, and we have the key role, and we have the final decision on how much we want to like price this oil. And like on oil subject, on many subjects, like Shah wasn't really influenced, and many times we see him publicly opposing the Western leaders. So whether the Iran was really like under the complete control of the West, yes, definitely we had very good cooperation with the Western countries. We had very good and close relations with United States, with United Kingdom, and many Western countries. But we also had these sort of relations with some Eastern countries as well, like China and Russia in the past. So there was some sort of balance in Shah's policy between West and East in Iran, even though he was, well, due to his liberal policies, he was more aligning with West. But whether the West has control over Iran, well, it is a little bit controversial, and we cannot say that he was a puppet of West, really. And yeah.
Talking about like prospects of future Iran, what can happen, what should happen, and how the processes are going on. We can't just go through the role of Israel and the happened war between Iran and Israel that happened in June and, as many say, caused that socioeconomic problems that led to protests. Many people who also oppose these protests and ongoing processes in Iran are talking about the role of Israel in uh, radicalizing these Iranian people and using them against the government. Is there like really like natural rivalry between Iranian people and Israel historically, or is it caused by the current regime's hatred towards the Zionists and Israel? How is the situation between Iran and Israel?
Well, Israel is a very good mention because it's also related to previous subject as well. We see in the formation of Israel, the Western countries was heavily supporting the formation of Israel. And during that time, Shah policies was the two-state solution. He was like supporting both parties. He was supporting Palestinians. He was supporting Israelis as well. So he was also in that subject. He was also playing basically a balanced role, not like Western countries siding heavily for Israel or siding with Palestinians. And whether we had like problems, historic rivalry with Israel, that is not true. I mean, at least before the Islamic Revolution, we didn't have this sort of rivalry. Actually, even during the war between Iraq and Iran, there were some under this Islamic regime. Many times Israel helped us to during that war. Of course, they also had like rivalry with Iraq, so there were like justification why they helped us. But I want to say that historically, we didn't have this sort of rivalry in between Iranians and like Israelis. And if we want to go very, very like back in like 1,000 years ago, we see that the Cyrus the Great is the king that who went to Babylon and freed the Jews. So historically, there is a very, and we see in all major cities in Israel, there is at least one street named after Cyrus the Great. So historically, there were, on contrary of what Islamic Republic or like the left try to say about the Iranians, unlike that, there were very close ties between the Iranians and Israelis throughout the history. And no, before the Islamic Republic, there wasn't this sort of rivalry between Israel and like Iranians before.
And what about uh, future prospects? Because we see that Israel supports the will of Iranian people and supported also ongoing protests in Iran. And talking about the protests, which caused one of the greatest tragedies in the modern history of Iran. Uh, do you think that there was a huge role playing in non-existent Iran opposition that led inaction of protests?
Well, the thing about Israel and his role in this protest is that these protests, we don't really see the actual interference of the foreign governments into uh, like current protests that are happening in Iran, because multiple times even like Israel has stated that we prefer to stay back and see what is happening in Iran. Like even President Trump mentioned that we prefer to see, like when they ask him about the opposition and which opposition he's going to support, he didn't clearly stated that I'm going to support Reza Pahlavi. On contrary, he said that we are watching to see what names comes out of these streets. So I mean, I actually kind of also blame President Trump, because when he said that if you shoot at the protesters, we are going to come at your rescue, it actually motivated more people to come to the streets. And it gives a reason for government. I mean, yeah, Islamic Republic, at the end of the day, when there is existential threat for them, they would kill as many people as they want. Nothing is going to stop them. But this gives them more excuse to like widely and more openly suppress the people on the streets. Uh, but when we are like, if we are going to like talk about the future of relation between the Iranians and Israelis in case that the regime change takes place in Iran, the thing about Israel, I'm not very like geopolitical master, but the thing is that Israel is surrounded by Arab countries, and Iran in Middle East is the only non-Arab country besides Israel. So there is makes sense that a strong Iran, and also in the Persian Gulf region, which is like filled with the oil resources, the existence of a non-Arab country for Persian Gulf and Middle East is highly beneficial for both United States and Israel in the region.
Thank you for clarification. You mentioned the role of President Trump. Of course, we all see the headlines he's making nowadays with
Yeah.
all kind of different stuff. So my question will be next about like President Trump's role in forcing this protest to be more extreme, because now that protests in Iran have lost some momentum and widespread repressions and killings have gone largely unanswered, which should not have happened based on President Trump's words. Uh, what hope remains for the Iranian people, and what might come next?
The thing is that the momentum is not lost yet, because when I'm talking with people in Iran, I mean, still we have like some sort of digital blackout, but it is in the current phase that it is whitelisted. So they have access to the internet, but it is a little bit difficult. They have to use different like VPNs and different services to be connected. And through that channel, when I'm talking with my friends and families and people I know inside Iran, and the messages we hear from people in Iran is that everyone is ready for something to happen to come to the streets again. Whether it's going to be the war between United States and Iran, whether it is going to be another like protest or uprising, or a call from Reza Pahlavi to come to the streets again. So the momentum, at least in, if we want to say that people are still motivated or not, yes, they are very much motivated, people inside Iran. So I don't say the momentum is lost, but of course we had far better opportunity when these protests were happening in Iran to save more lives. So in terms of saving lives and supporting people, of course, different scenarios could happen to be more beneficial for both people and uh, like United States and Israel. The thing is that when we are talking about the role of President Trump and United States in making these, basically motivating this uprising, I would say that this is my personal opinion. I don't say that it is like true. My personal opinion is that President Trump's call on if Iranian government shoots at people, we are going to come to their rescue. Rescue is very like a heavy word. When you say we are coming to the rescue, it is like that we are going to, and we are locked and loaded. When you are saying we are locked and loaded and we are coming to their rescue, it is like that you are recognizing that this government is taking people as hostage. And if you are going to shoot at people, we are going to use all the forces we have to come to their rescue. So I would say that the millions of people we see in the streets, I mean, over 20 million people, I mean, this is the estimation that over 20 million people came to the streets over the 8th and 9th of January. Of course, it is not very precise number. This is approximation by the videos and numbers and hearings we hear from Iran. But we know that at least millions of people came to the streets. And I say it was the Trump's direct call that if you shoot at the people who will come to the street, gave them this motivation to come to the streets. The 8th and 9th of January, it was happened by Reza Pahlavi call because he called the people, it is the time for you to come to the streets. So Reza Pahlavi draw the time frame, but the motivation, I believe, in its core was from Trump's call because we also see many people, many pictures and many videos from Iran that people holding signs saying Trump help or Trump or like changing the name of the street to Trump. So definitely United States and Trump's call played a very major role in motivating people to come to the streets. But whether it made the protest more violent or not, I have doubt about it because people were not very violent at the start. And people still are not very violent. I mean, yes, we see people like burning police stations and these things, but people were basically unarmed. And if they were armed, we would at least see more casualties on the police side. But all the casualties are from unarmed people, and we don't see anyone like in the videos holding any like weapon from the people's side.
Yes, just to clarify, I mentioned that Iranian protest was violent. Uh, to talk about casualties, we saw tens of thousands of people just imprisoned in Iran, tortured in prisons, and just beaten to death, many of them, and also dead by the hands of IRGC and Iranian government's proxy powers in the streets. There was a huge announcement in the past week that European Commission recognized IRGC as a terrorist organization. That was a great news. Just to understand better the role of IRGC in the regime's power, what is it in reality, and how was it created, and what effect did it have on current protests?
The thing about IRGC is that IRGC basically plays the second military, and like it was the second military that formed in our country. And it is very unique case about Iran. We don't have many countries to have two different, completely different military structures within themselves. And this is why we don't see coups to take place in Iran. Like many people ask me, well, why don't the army just cope against the Islamic regime? The IRGC full name is Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It means that the whole identity and whole purpose of this military body of the government is to protect the Islamic Republic and Islamic Revolution, so-called Islamic Revolution. We don't see any name of Iran in their title. Like we have the Artesh, which is like Artesh Iran or like the military of Iran. But unlike the military, unlike the Artesh, IRGC is formed to precisely serve the Islamic Revolution or Islamic Republic goals abroad and inside Iran. And all these proxies that you are seeing that being formed in different countries like Syria, like Iraq, like Afghanistan. We have Fatimiyun in Afghanistan. We have Hashad al-Shabi in Iraq. We have Hezbollah in Lebanon. We have Hamas in Palestine, and we have Houthis in Yemen. They are all being directly funded by IRGC. And we see them using all the weapons that are being built and developed by IRGC. So the whole purpose of this IRGC entity is to prevent any coup inside Iran and to suppress people inside Iran and to serve the Islamic Republic goals abroad, like finding the other terrorist groups, aiding other terrorist groups, and like doing terror operations in Europe. I mean, we have the terror of Sepehr Bakhtiar in France. Sepehr Bakhtiar was late prime minister of Shah's regime, who actually gave the government to the like Islamists, and they killed him in French soil. They killed him like 40 years ago, and this happened directly. This happened under the IRGC operation agents.
Okay, thank you. I mentioned that European Commission recognized this organization as a terrorist organization, but we still see some kind of cautious from the Western countries,
Yeah.
and also from my country of Georgia, which hesitated to engage in supporting these protests and often called it, and they are often calling this an internal matter. And at the same time, we see the rising anti-interventionist views of the young people toward Islamist regimes, and they often overlook the regional impact of Iran's government. So, how can we explain that silence and non-interference also have consequences, especially when we are dealing with the regime that is in Iran? And how can we explain that regime which can kill its own people, will also easily kill people of other countries?
The thing about like listing IRGC as a terrorist group, it more serves Europe itself than helping the Iranian protesters on the streets. I also mentioned in the article that I published last week in We Speak Freely. I also mentioned that this is crucial for the Europe's safety itself, because after the regime change in Iran, all these agents, all these people that are serving IRGC, they are going to run away to Europe. They are going to run away in other countries. And it is better for Europe to start listing this organization as a terrorist group so they can freeze their assets. They can have control and monitor over them. So it serves more for Europe rather than helping the protesters on the streets, to be honest. If you want to help the protesters in the streets, I mean, Reza Pahlavi posted a post on his Instagram last night. I will and like talked about 6 demands of protesters that can actually help them on the streets. I will read that later. But the thing about, yes, it is very precautious move to like only list the IRGC as a terrorist organization, but it is essential because it is one step towards recognizing that this government is illegitimate and it cannot represent the Iranian people. But the thing is that I also see that many anti-interventionists in United States, in Europe, in other countries saying that it is internal matter. The thing is that, okay, I agree that this is internal matter. I'm not really agree, but okay, we say that you are correct and it is completely internal matter. But the thing is that we have 2 parties in this conflict. We have peoples and we have the Islamic Republic. People say that this Islamic Republic is not illegitimate, and this Islamic Republic say that the opposition and these people are not, we are not recognizing them. We are going to kill them and we are going to suppress them. So as long as you have the embassies of Islamic Republic open in your soil and you are allowing the diplomats of this regime to spread their propaganda, you allow them to operate freely in your country, you are giving them resources, you are giving them the media, you are basically siding in this battle. You are not playing that non-interference role. You are directly interfering in our internal, so-called internal manner by giving the opportunity to the Islamic Republic diplomats to spread their lies, to spread their narrative, and like doing their abroad operations in your soil. So it is not very non-interventionist take to say that, okay, we are not interfering, but we are allowing the Islamic Republic diplomats to operating in our country. If you really want to be non-interventionist, you have to expel all the Islamic Republic diplomats from your soil. But speaking
Thank
of the 6 demands of the Reza Pahlavi, I will also like share the link in chat. So if you wanted, you
you.
can like read it yourself. Where can I share it? Oh, chat. Is it being also sent to
Yes, yes, please.
participants? Okay.
Yeah.
From this Instagram post, you can see some 6 demands that Reza Pahlavi also mentioned that can directly supporting the Iranian people. The first one is dismantle the regimes. I read exactly from the text. Dismantle the regime's machinery of repression and protect the people of Iran. Basically, we are talking about. I remember the last time we were talking. I talked about R2P, which is a mechanism in the United Nations that recognize a government illegitimate and unable to protect its people, and it encouraged the other countries, all countries around the world, to support these people like throughout all means, whether through the military action, whether through political actions, or whether through like humanitarian aid. So R2TP is very important subject, and this is basically the dismantle of the regime machinery is going to happen and can actually happen through R2TP. And the second one is cut off the regime's financial lifelines in full. Basically, continue the like banning the IRGC as a terrorist group, freezing their assets. These are going to be movements that actually help the Iranian people on the street, because if you cut the funds that are the lines that are basically sent funds to this Islamic Republic regime, it helps the protesters on the streets to be able to take actions against this government. The third one is ensure free internet and communication for people, because we see always this pattern from the Islamic Republic that anything that is happening in Iran, they immediately cut off internet, they immediately cut off all the means of communication in Iran to not allow any news to get out of Iran, and people inside Iran don't be able to express themselves to send their message to the world. The fourth one is expel the regime diplomats and persecute its criminals. The fifth one is immediate release of political prisoners. It is more talking towards like Islamic Republic. And the last one is prepare to recognize a legitimate transitional government to lead Iran towards democracy. These are the 6 demands of people, which also like Reza Pahlavi talked about, and I shared the link of his Instagram. It is also, if you are very concerned about what is happening in Iran, also his Instagram page is very good source about knowing what is happening, what is happening inside Iran, and in what stage we are. So
Thank
yes,
you.
speaking of the foreign governments and how they can help, these are the 6 demands that are actually possible for them to help.
Thank you for this information. And my next question was about the tools that can address the situation in Iran. And you mentioned, and one of the key tool that can be used in the current situation of Iran is the framework of responsibility to protect. And I
Yeah.
think it is the most powerful one from the ones that you mentioned. How do you think, how realistic is this framework to apply to Iran? And does it truly respond to Iranian people's call for help?
I mean, responsibility to protect is basically at its core principle is talking about whether a regime can protect its own people or not. And we witnessed that in the streets of Iran when people peacefully protested to ask for regime change in Iran. The answer from the regime was complete suppression of showing violence, complete suppression of protesters. They killed more than 30,000 people on the streets. So, by all definitions, this government is illegitimate and it cannot represent people, and it's not willing to listen to people. I mean, we don't even see like they don't even like feel ashamed about what they did, and they are easily accusing like more than 30,000 people of being like agents of Mossad. And I mean, if your country has, if already 30,000 agents of Mossad is in your country, you are already done. You have to leave the country. You have to run away. You cannot kill 30,000 like Mossad agents, and Israel won't sit and see you like killing more than 30,000 agents in the streets of Iran. Also consider that how much population Israel itself has to be able to send 30,000 agents inside Iran. And but whatever, the thing is that by all definitions, this regime killed more than 30,000 people on the streets. And it shows that it is willing to kill more if it wants, if it shows more existential threat from the people. They are willing to kill more people, and they are not feeling ashamed, and they are not regretting about this. So and definitely R2TP is very realistic framework, and it definitely applies for the Iranian people. And but we should see whether the foreign countries are willing to raise this concern and listen to this concern and address this issue or not, address this concern or not, and demand or not. But if you wanna, we realize, I mean, we went through peaceful protest inside Iran. We went through attempts for reform inside Iran. We have Reformist Party in Iran, which is highly affiliated with the government, but they took office 2 times, more than 2 times, 3 times in the history of Iran. And the most violent suppression in the history of Iran took place during these administrations, basically reformist administrations. So there is no hope for reform in Iran. And what people in Iran are asking for is military intervention in Iran, or like decisive actions against the Islamic regime. If you want to take this government down, and if it wasn't like visible for us until the past 2 weeks, now it is visible for us. The only solution is using, I mean, people getting armed, or the foreign countries to interfere inside, intervene in Iran and take this government down.
Thank you.
If you want to be realistic.
And the last question from me would be about how can we, people around the world who care about Iran and empathize with Iranian people, but feel powerless, what meaningful actions can we take today? Are social media campaigns, fundraising, public protests, or advocacy efforts helpful? And what kind of support do Iranians themselves consider most valuable?
There are three. I mean, at the end of the day, we are people. So if we want to be realistic, all the power lies within the unfortunately politicians' hands. But we have to encourage and force them to take action. We have to keep them accountable all around the world. And if you really, if like you are interested to help the Iranian people on their fight for freedom, you can ask your officials. You can like all of you have like parliamentary representatives in your parliament. You have you can like email to your officials. You can ask them for expelling the Islamic Republic diplomats. You can ask them to look for the solutions that actually can help people. And you can write about Iran if you like writing, if you are interested about it. If you have like social media, like it doesn't necessarily means to be like article. You can just simply just send a tweet on X. You can make a post on Instagram, and you can participate in different campaigns. Actually, we have a website, Iran Archive. You can I send its link here. In Iran Archive, you can see the list of victims that we could so far identify and list in there. You can see like we have a very funny thing in this domain, like Iran Archive countries. You can see the position of your countries towards the Islamic Republic in 5 different aspects, whether they designate IRGC as a terrorist group or not. You can see from here whether if your country has not designated IRGC as a terrorist group yet, this can be like a demand from you. You can write an email, you can post something on Instagram or X, and asking your officials to designate IRGC as a terrorist group. It is both good for the safety of your country, and it definitely help the Iranian people. And you can, and the most effective way you can help the Iranian people is participating on the worldwide rallies that are taking place in different countries. You can take information about these rallies through, again, from Iran archive/events, or this website is a little bit more updated than us in terms of like reporting the protest. Iran Monitor org/protest. I send this link here. So you can every day you can check this website and see is there any protest taking place on your country, in your city or not, and you can join the protest. And definitely this hugely help Iranian. We would like to see you. We would like to see you coming with your flags because we are very patriots and we love to see more patriots in our rallies. So come with your own country's flag and show where do you want your country to be and what position you want your country to take. So these are the most effective ways. These are the ways you can actually help the Iranian people. And the most effective one is directly talking with your officials and demanding them to for those 6 demands that I mentioned earlier.
Thank you once again, Sepehr. It was very informational. And thank you for all the clarifications about the ongoing protests, about the future and the past of Iran. And I think we can move to the questions from audiences if people have. First of all, I saw the Q&A question from Tamar, and it is about Georgia and the government who doesn't clearly support ongoing protests. There was supporting protests by people and Georgians around the Tbilisi, but government didn't show any reaction. So, what do you think when people deal with governments such as Georgia, who doesn't clearly have position about ongoing processes? How can people still address them?
I mean, the thing is that sometimes, yes, your officials doesn't really like listen to the people's demand. I mean, I've been in Georgia myself for 2 months. I see their brave fight for freedom that is like going on for many years in Georgia. I see people going to the streets and protest for their freedom and like get rid of the Russian oppression and effects on the Georgia politics. And throughout these years, I really like admire the Georgians' bravery for this. Like it is very consistent protest. I remember I would see them like every weekend they are coming to the streets and fighting for their freedom. This is very like I really admire them for this. And the thing is that yes, sometimes like your officials doesn't really like listen to your bill. But the thing is that still participating in this protest, still talking about Iran, and can awaken that like sort of feeling in your officials and all leaders around the world. They have to see if the leaders of the world see that this is like there is this international demand for regime change in Iran, and this is this international like demand to show solidarity with the Iranian people. Of course, like it has its own effects. So if your officials doesn't listen to it, you can still like by participating in protests, by talking about Iran with your friends, force the world to take actions for Iran.
Thank you. I don't think there is any more questions.
But I also believe that eventually, to be honest, eventually all the governments, if they see this sort of support from the because it is like international matter. If they see this some sort of support from their own people towards the Iranian people, they have to eventually take action. Maybe late, maybe they take these actions very late, but they have to eventually take those actions.
I think we just ended this perfectly. I don't think there is any more questions. Oh, wait. Yes, there is one more question. There is a question asked by Ella. What would you answer to those people who want to be positioned themselves as neutral and not intervene because they believe interventions make things worse, comparing it to Iraq or Syria?
Yes, there is this popular saying that United States going to bring democracy the same way that they brought democracy to Iraq and Syria, and which is actually, to be honest, United States really brought democracy to Afghanistan, to Syria, and to Iraq. The reason that this sort of democracy wasn't really successful is a different subject. It wasn't necessary for United States to take military intervention. It was really necessary, in my opinion, to take military actions. But there were some mistake during the process of those like transition. For example, in Iraq, they dismantled the military totally, and this was what caused chaos in Iraq. Or for example, in Afghanistan, the problem was that the people were not willing to participate. They were not supporting this military intervention. So when the NATO and United States took military intervention in Afghanistan, people were actually opposing, and it was basically help Taliban to get more like popularity among the people. Because they also had this bad memory about the Soviet intervention in their countries. So when the United States interfered in Afghanistan, it actually didn't like satisfy the people. It wasn't by people's demand. So they were different countries, they were different subjects, they were different. But what is happening in Iran right now is that the majority of people are demanding for international intervention. It is totally a different subject than what actually happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. But for the people that are going to be neutral, I also mentioned it. Yes, okay, if you are non-interventionist, if you are neutral on this matter, the thing is that as long as you have to support the idea that the Islamic Republic diplomats should be expelled, because the people of a country, they do not recognize their government legitimate. And what is the neutral position here? If you give the embassy to the Islamic Republic, you are taking a stance here. If you are giving that embassy to the opposition leaders, you are again taking a stance here. So the non-intervention and neutral stand is expel the Islamic Republic diplomats totally from the embassy and close that embassy until you see what change will take place in Iran. So neutrality here is just being silent about the killings that are happening in Iran.
Thank you. And the last question today, I think you already answered this one, but if people just joined, what gives you hope right now, if anything? And what do you wish people outside of Iran understood better about what's happening there?
Yes, what I actually wish people outside Iran to understand about what is going on in Iran is that it is not a simple protest. It is a revolution. We named it the Lion and Sun Revolution. And we are not Zionists. We are not the Mossad agents. We are not this is real concerns. We have been enduring suppression from the Islamic Republic for more than 47 years. And we have been fighting this government since its very start. I told you the first protest took place 1 month exactly after they took office in Iran. And we've been fighting with this government since then. And this is real concern. People are actually being massacred in the streets of Iran. This is not a game. This is not we haven't been invaded by any country. We've been massacred in our country, inside our country, by our so-called own security forces. And this is a serious, and every day that are, right now, people think that the massacre has ended, but no, the police forces, the security forces going door by door, checking people's phone, checking their homes, arresting them. Many people are waiting to be executed. They are online to be executed. And a very big tragedy is taking place in Iran right now today. And this is what I wish people outside Iran to understand.
Thank you. And thank you, Sepehr. Thank you, all attendees. And I hope we all, as Sepehr mentioned, continue and will continue to support
I guess we
Iranian
have another
pro-Palestinian
question.
protests.
Yeah, I guess we have.
I think we don't have the time anymore because the Zoom
Okay.
meeting will end soon. So thank you once again, all the attendees. Sorry for the unanswered question. I think Sepehr really in detail explained everything that was going on in Iran, about the future prospects for Iran, about the history of Iran. And I hope we will continue supporting Iran in social medias and protests. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for everyone attending this meeting. I really appreciate. I'm really grateful that you are showing support and concern about what is happening in Iran. I shared my Instagram as well. If you have any more further question about what is happening in Iran, if you need more information, I dedicated my Instagram page about what is happening in Iran. I'm reporting about the events that are happening, what the Islamic Republic says, what the opposition says. And if you have any question, you can contact me on Instagram. I would be more than happy to like have discussion with you about Iran. And I really, really, I want to thank again the like Georgian branch of SFO. I would like to thank the uh, Europe SFO for showing support towards the Iranians and for making this event to be possible. And without your support, I mean, maybe like we see these things, these events very small, but they definitely has very huge impact. And I'm really grateful. Thank you again, Georgi. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Lizzie. Thanks, everyone.